Hello, welcome to Gospel in Action. In this video, we will study in depth about how all Hindus ended up worshipping the idols and how they have a mind-boggling 330 million gods and goddesses in their worldview. I would also like to explain all about the concept of moksha in Hinduism and all other religions that branched out of Hinduism like Buddhism, Jainism, etc. So without wasting much time, let us dive into the video. If you're a first-time visitor, then I request you to please hit that like button to support us with this mission. If the videos are helpful, please subscribe to this channel to not miss another video. But note that the subscription is free. As I said, everything about the Hindu religion really pivots on one vast philosophy which is called the Advaita philosophy or non-dualism. This means all Hindus believe that all is God and God is one. They do not differentiate between the creator of this universe and his creation. Their Advaita philosophy states that the creation is the visible manifestation of the creator himself. In other words, they believe that the visible universe is the physical manifestation of the non-physical and infinite existence. So their God is this universe itself. Hence, they all worship both the universe as a whole and even every aspect of this visible creation that a finite mind can perceive, understand, or comprehend. And hence, as I said, they have taken the liberty to give the entire universe and each aspect of this universe a physical form. This is done purely out of their creative wisdom and imaginations. So, the highest form of their God is Ishvara. Please do not get confused because earlier I mentioned Brahman. There are two highest forms of their God. One, the formless, impersonal Brahman, and two, with form, personal Ishvara. One is the invisible existence and the other, the visible creation. Both are the same because the latter was the physical manifestation of the former. So, obviously, they chose the personal Ishvara for worship. And as I said, there are several mythological stories written on this infinite Ishvara where he was defined as one God but three persons based on his obvious attributes. Brahma for the creation aspect, Vishnu for the sustenance aspect, and Shiva for the destruction aspect. They have been given human forms and hence the idols as well. In today's day, you will hardly see a temple for Brahma because his job of creating the universe is done and hence no one would benefit from him if they worship Brahma alone. So they are left with Vishnu and Shiva. Now, there are two schools of thought in Hindu religion. First, Vaishnavas or Vaishnavites or Shaivas or Shaivites. Vaishnavas worship Vishnu and the incarnations of Vishnu. This is primarily because they believe in the sustenance of this universe and their prayers are to Vishnu to keep peace, give health, wealth, and prosperity to the inhabitants of this universe. That is, the inhabitants of the world. Now, the Shaivites are the ones who appease Shiva and calm his ever-existing wrath to destroy or dissolve this universe. This is the reason why one would always see a continuous liquid offering over an idol of Shiva or his linga. This process of offering of milk or water on an idol is called abhisheka in Sanskrit. Linga is literally the male sexual organ of Shiva. Yes, the Shaivites worship the male organ of Shiva because they believe that the creation was born because of Shiva's union with his wife Parvati, which would last as long as the creation itself lasts. Hence, another aspect of Shiva is half male and half female characteristics. So he is also referred as Ardhanarishwara, which literally means half female lord in Sanskrit. All this can be found in Shiva Purana and Linga Purana. This is also referred to as the Tantric cosmology. Well, in Tantric cosmology, the whole universe is perceived as being created, penetrated, and sustained by two fundamental forces which are permanently in a perfect, indestructible union. These forces or universal aspects are called Shiva and Shakti. Shakti, which means power, is another name of Shiva's wife Parvati, who represents power or force. Now, because Shiva is half female, the transgender community in India worships him. Shiva is also referred to as Nataraja, which means the dancing king or the dancing lord. The significance of his dance is that the beat of his dance controls the rhythm of this world. So if he stops dancing, the world would end. So he is continuously dancing. I know this is pretty deep philosophy and worldview. All this is the Shaivite belief system. Because of many aspects or roles of Shiva than Vishnu, we see 90% of all temples in India are Shaivite temples. This is predominantly because of the fear that Shiva would ultimately destroy the world. So they felt the need to appease Shiva and be saved from the ultimate destruction. Can you believe that all this philosophy is based on a myth? Yes, it is based on the Puranas, which are nothing but mythological stories. Anyway, coming back to Vaishnavas or the Vaishnavites, my entire family belongs and believes this school of thought. They also worship Shiva, but they do not go deep into that side of philosophy. In my personal opinion, the beliefs of the Vaishnavas are saner than those of the Shaivites. This is because the Vaishnavas put their beliefs on Vishnu, who represents the infinite and the visible universe and sustains it. And not just that, the most important incarnations of Vishnu are Rama and Krishna, who are the real life heroes of the Itihasas, which are the histories. Whereas everything that the Shaivites believe is completely based on pure myths or imaginary stories. Anyway, there are 10 incarnations of Vishnu, which are as follows: fish, Matsya, tortoise, Kurma, boar, Varaha, man-lion, Narasimha, dwarf, Vamana, Rama with an axe, Parasurama, King Rama, Krishna, enlightened being, Buddha, and Kalki. We shall learn about all these avatars in brief in the next video. Except Parasurama, Rama, Krishna, and Buddha, all other avatars are basically myths or imaginary stories found in the Puranas. In fact, the whole concept of the 10 avatars or incarnations is also a myth. However, they made people believe that Ramayana and Mahabharata are real histories. Even I believe that they are real, but with added cinematic effects in order for them to have a greater impact on the people. Rama was a great king with noble characteristics. It is, however, definitely unwise to equate a man with noble characteristics to God, the creator of this entire universe. In fact, it is foolish. Having said that, Rama had noble traits. He, however, had many character flaws that I can point out as well. I would mention a couple to defend myself. First, Rama left the kingdom to an incompetent king just to obey his father's command, knowing fully well that there was an evil motive behind. According to me, to rule the kingdom and his people is more important than to obey one's father blindly. Second, he made his wife go through a character examination because someone in the kingdom mentioned that she spent one whole year in the enemy's kingdom as a slave. Well, these are my 2 cents on King Rama. He was not a flawless person, whereas Krishna in his lifetime has lied, has stolen, has cheated, and had also encouraged the Pandavas to cheat and win the war against the Kauravas to uphold the divine law. Anyway, before concluding this topic, I would like to answer the question on 330 million gods and goddesses. It is definitely confusing even to Hindus on why there are that many gods and goddesses. Apart from the fact that Hindus imagine gods for every aspect of life, for example, they have gods for power, money, education, rivers, rocks, trees, animals, reptiles, birds, and all the elements of the universe. I believe that they have even assumed gods for every human being on the planet as well. They might have assumed and believed that the maximum number of people that the earth can sustain at any given time is 330 million. Obviously, that was assumed about 3,000 years ago. However, now it's a different story. We are 8 billion of us, and we are able to sustain and prosper on this planet because of the advances in the supply chain processes. Now, let me explain to you about the concept of salvation in the Hindu religion and all other religions that branched out of Hinduism. The philosophy of their salvation and the philosophy of karma are interlinked. Karma literally means action in Sanskrit. So, as we discussed before, the Hindu religion postulates that everyone goes through a series of rebirths or reincarnations, 84 million lives to be precise, that will eventually lead to moksha, the spiritual salvation that frees one from the cycle of rebirths. With each rebirth, one can move closer to or further away from the eventual moksha or liberation. However, the deciding factor is one's karma. Bad actions result in bad karma, which leads one to lower incarnation and a step further away from salvation. And of course, good actions result in good karma, which leads one to a higher incarnation and a step closer to their salvation. So, in every life that people reincarnate into, they must have good works outweighing their bad works to further in the process. Hence, their salvation is a very long process, and it is definitely a works-based salvation. This works-based system of salvation itself deters me away because it is hopeless. Yes, when I said hopeless, I really meant it. There is no hope at all in this belief system to be and live with our Father, our Creator. It is really unfortunate because of the fact that literally moksha or mukti is works-based and that it has been ingrained in them since they were kids. They can never appreciate and accept God's offer of substitutionary atonement through Jesus Christ unless they come across a literal miracle from God Himself. If you want to know about that literal miracle in my life, please watch my testimony in the description below. Anyway, I would like to close this video with a question that all Hindus need to ponder about. If their God is just this universe, which is impersonal, then how in the world can the impersonal universe judge what are the good deeds and what are the bad deeds so that they may move closer to or step further away from their salvation, right? So, my point is that even if the Hindus are following their philosophy, they must believe that there is a creator who is separate from his creation, who will judge every single person impartially according to his or her works. They cannot escape from the Creator's judgment, because no matter how many births or reincarnations take place, they can never get rid of their janma papam, or the inherent sin that every person is born with, by doing anything by themselves in any of their 84 million lives. Yes, the Hindus believe that every person is born with the inherent sin nature. So the Hindus need Jesus Christ, no matter what they believe, to ultimately deliver them from their inherent sin nature, the janma papam, and to atone for all their sins. That's the ultimate truth. Anyway, I hope this message blessed you. In the next video, I would like to go through each of the avatars or the incarnations of Vishnu. That would also explain why the Hindus believe in the theory of evolution. That is going to be very interesting. Until then, stay tuned to Gospel in Action, and to know more about me, please find my testimony and my contact details in the description below. Remember, this series is done with a lot of research and preparation. Do you know why? Because God loves you, and so do I. Thank you again for watching.